why not sit back, relax, and take things easy like a Sunday morn. I'm your host, Shane Lockwood, and this is episode 71. I'm not going to put the date on this one, and I don't think I'm going to be putting the date on the episodes for the time being, at least. It's been a few months since my last podcast, and I do want to do them a lot more regularly. And I want to thank everybody who has been supporting me just morally and financially through Patreon. Now, there's not too many people doing that, and I lost a Patreon supporter ages back, and I had a bit of a whinge about that before. But what we're going to do, we're just going to sit back and relax a bit and just unwind and maybe just listen to the sound of my voice. And if you're trying to get to sleep, you close your eyes and just concentrate on your breathing for a little bit, just breathing in and breathing out. If you're in an armchair or your favorite couch, sofa, whatever, or even if you're at your kitchen table, maybe you're enjoying a beverage or two. Just slow down, relax, let go of the things that you need to be doing, the things that, all the stresses and all the dramas and all the things that people pile on top of you and all the obligations and things that you've got to put up with and whatever else. Just slowly but surely let them all go, and we're going to take things easy like a Sunday morn. Now, I haven't uploaded a podcast in about 3 months now, and I want to rectify that. I'd like to be able to actually do have the ability to record a podcast largely whenever I want to, but I'd like to be doing them maybe more than once a week, but it doesn't depend on anything. This is my podcast, and I'm going to be uploading when I want to. And that's something I've had to wrestle with, the thing of the fan expectations, and let's just say perfection is the enemy of great, in the sense that this is just a podcast, and I have to realize that it's just a podcast. I am grateful for the people that listen to it, and I'm grateful to the people that support it. But once again, I have to bring it back to what it is that I'm doing, and it has to come from me, rather than trying to meet unrealistic fan expectations. There was a whole lot of criticism, trying to seek perfection and audio quality and things like that. There was a lack of financial support. That was my fault in some ways. I do have a few Patreon supporters, but it's not a whole lot of money. But to explain what I did there, it's a per episode donation. So when I'm creating podcasts, it's a way that I can generate an income, right? Because nobody else will hire me. I've got no other real job prospects except maybe, shoveling horse manure at the Royal Adelaide Show and stuff like that. And that's stuff that I don't really want to be doing, I'm intelligent. I've got an IT degree, but I can't get my foot in the door. That was something that I wanted to talk about before. And the other thing was that people were saying that I was complaining too much, but I was going through pure hell. And people seem to have this really weird thing where they won't help you to help yourself out of that hell. I went for a job with I won't say, but it was a government department, and a friend of mine was desperately in need of somebody, just another person that they could train up from the ground up and help with their workload. And I went for the interview. I was cleanly shaven, had a haircut, you name it. And his boss turned me down in front of him and me, and I went into a tailspin, negative cycle, and there was a lack of support from everybody else. Oh, it's just one of those things. He was a bad person. People make mistakes, rah, rah. But my friend actually had to take 2 months off of work for mental health reasons, right? Because he was fuming mad, because this was set up and built up and built up and built up. And then the rug was pulled out from underneath him and me. And that would have been a decent job. I would have been working 2 days a week, and I would have been meeting all sorts of commitments from government agencies and things like that. And I would have been able to prove myself and then gotten more days, more hours, and be doing something decent for the community. And it just fell apart. And one of the things that I have to do with this podcast, well, at least that's what the fan expectation is not be complaining, be positive, and help people relax and unwind and things like that. But hopefully just me talking is enough to help people with that. This should have been a weekly podcast. There was a point where I was doing this just for fun, right? Just communicating with my friends and, like a little bit of a fan base and things like that. But it started to become very difficult. I was attacked by trolls. The people that could have helped me didn't. And then I didn't want to be putting them under guilt and things like that. How hard is it just to donate $1 per episode to a podcast? It's not that hard, right? It's not a financial burden. You won't even miss it. I promise, I swear. But, oh God. But then, once again, I come across like I'm complaining because I can't get this simple idea across. And then you've got people who play small intentionally. They're against Patreon. They'll attack it. They'll attack anybody that mentions Patreon. And you think, yeah, but it's okay. You're in a position of privilege. You've got an income. You've got a job. You're accepted by society. But for those of us that aren't, that don't, we have to look at other ways of trying to get funding somewhere. Sorry, the podcast itself is a product that I have. It's a product that I can produce, right? But if you contribute a per episode, see, it's not a monthly thing. I haven't produced a podcast in 3 months, right? My Patreon supporters weren't charged in that time, okay? If I produce a podcast like I'm doing now, if I produce additional content, what I'm planning on doing is doing a shorter episode that I can condense on specific topics. So, for example, if you like things like me talking about, say, Bigfoot. It wasn't Bigfoot, it was Australopithecus gigantus, I think. I can't remember the proper name. I was talking about that, talking about evolution, and talking about those sorts of things, right? I can do individual episodes dedicated to a particular topic, right? So it just requires a bit more forethought and planning and scripting and stuff. This is totally off the cuff, by the way, for those of you who haven't figured that out. And I like the feedback. I like the encouragement. I wish people were a bit more open with it. I wish that I didn't have to drag it out. I shouldn't have to take 3 or 4 questions to get you to tell me your favorite podcast episode and things like that. Or which direction would you like me to take? What else would you like to hear? What is it that you would prefer me to be doing, spending my time, and things like that. So I'm recording this at 1:30 in the morning, right? So now that I know that I can possibly do that, I could probably do that every day. But I don't want to bankrupt some of my Patreon supporters because they are paying like a little bit per episode. It's more than $1, but like less than $10. And of course, on cue, my fridge decided to start going through its cycle. So the audio quality, people are going a bit nuts. I don't know whether I mentioned it in the previous episode. I'd gone to Queensland, and once I get my head together, and I'm going to write it about my experiences going to Queensland. I may have mentioned it in the previous episode, but I can't remember whether I did or not. But the other thing I wanted to do very quickly, and I should have done it at the beginning of the episode, was send a shout out to my good friend Judy, and she is the coordinator for Fred's Van, which is a soup kitchen, I think you'd call it. Yeah, basically a soup kitchen as an extension of the outreach of St. Vincent de Paul's, which is like a church organisation. St. Vinny's, as we call it here. And what she was doing, and she would organise like a whole heap of charities and soup kitchens and stuff like that, the various volunteer groups. Now I've moved up to the point where I'm volunteering at Fred's Van once a month. But Judy turned out to have a form of cancer, and it's like a pancreatic. I don't know whether it's pancreas or the liver or somewhere like that, somewhere where they can't really operate. So she's probably got 2 or 3 years left to live, and the cancer's sort of going into her stomach and things like that. So lots of prayers and chemo, and she's done the right thing, and she's going through chemotherapy, and she's going to try and fight it as much as she can. Psychologically, it's good to be positive that hopefully these things can go into, I think they call it remission, where the cancer cells are no longer present. But she offered me her entire La Femme Nikita DVD collection. And for those of you that don't remember, La Femme Nikita was a TV show where this woman who played by Peter Wilson, she was Australian actress, and she was kidnapped, and she was, I think, she was kidnapped by she was framed for a murder she didn't commit, and then she was trained as a spy. It's the same story that went into The Long Kiss Goodnight, I think, with Samuel L. Jackson and Geena Davis. But they turned it into a TV show anyway. It was basically the main character had fallen in. She was a trained assassin basically, and she was sent off by this secret organization to take out terrorist spies and stuff like that. And she falls in love with her trainer, and there's like a romantic aspect and things like that. But it's quite funny. You look at it now, and a lot of the technology that they were using in the show is all speculative because it was in the early 90s. Things like pages and text messaging and things like that were all just all like the earbud things that you get from Apple. Those sorts of things were just speculative fiction, And it was a great, really, TV show. And I managed to. She couldn't get the DVDs here for some reason, and I was pulling some strings over the internet back in the day on an old journal website called LiveJournal, and I met a friend over there in America, in Nevada, I think it was, and they were campaigning because the show had been axed after the 4th season. And they campaigned to get at least a half season, like season 5. But I was buying Judy the DVD, so we became really good friends over that. So, and I wanted to send a special shout out to a guy by the name of Ash Williams, who seems to have done himself a bit of a groin injury. Hopefully he gets better. That was a few months ago, so he thought he broke his, you know what. So, speaking of Ash Williams, there's a podcast called Sizzletown. It's absolutely fantastic. I listened to it over and over and over again on the way to Queensland, and it's one of those things that's very dry humour, but it builds up upon like each episode and episode, so it starts to delve into surrealism and just off the wall stupid comedy and things like that. But it's worth downloading if you can find it. Sizzletown. It's SIZZLETOWN, Sizzletown, and there is a lot of swearing in it, but it's all done, I think, with an Australian accent. So it's we speak a bit differently to the Americans, obviously. So the swearing and stuff is sort of low key, but the humour is really. The episodes get better and better as it goes along because it's building up upon the previous episode. But the other thing is, with Sizzletown, the source material is easily found online and on YouTube. So there are interviews with a director by the name of William Friedkin, and you might think, well, who's that? Well, he did Jaws. No, not Jaws. The Exorcist, and a movie called The French Connection. And there are YouTube videos of him talking about, like, he's just going on and on with these anecdotes. And with Sizzletown, there's an impersonation of him just exaggerating about these anecdotes, and it just gets more and more surreal and things like that. Now, some of the humour is a bit crass, a little bit lowbrow, but that's what you get. So there'll be another, I think episode 9 comes out this Thursday, so I have to wait another 24 hours. But I like it, and it's worth looking at. There's a show called Who is America with Sacha Baron Cohen. Yeah, Sacha Baron Cohen. And it's basically him dressing up as various characters through like an Israeli commando to an extreme left-wing liberal to a Trump supporter and all this sort of stuff, right? And he's basically goading various celebrities into basically believing all sorts of weird and wonderful things and trying to trick them into saying certain things, you know. Now, I think one of them was Ted Koppel, and Ted Koppel didn't have a bar of it. But there are other people that were basically openly racist, homophobic, Islamophobic, and stuff like that. So it's hilarious in its own way, and it's like this shocking way. But the problem is you don't know how much of it is staged and how much of it is like genuine. Are these people real? Like the people that he's interviewing, are they real? Now, with the celebrities, you can sort of say, yeah, they are real. But a lot of the time with a lot of TV, they're actors. And I think the best acting sometimes is from everyday actors pretending to be everyday people and just having natural reactions and things. But, yeah, that's a go. But what I'm going to do is, over the next few episodes, I'm going to tighten this up a little bit. So there might be like 10, 15-minute episodes. And hopefully they'll be released at a regular pace. And we'll get some things happening. And I hope that you have enjoyed this particular episode. I apologise for the freeform nature of it and for the lack of structure and sound effects and music and bumpers and all these other things that all these other podcasts have. But like I said at the beginning, I may not have even said it at the beginning. I can't remember. I've recorded this so many times. But sometimes the hardest thing a podcaster can do is just hit record. And I didn't want to, because one of the feedback things that I got from someone I didn't even know that was listening to the show was that I was complaining too much. Once again, I was going through hell. I'm going through some stuff now. I'm waiting for a plumber to basically smash a hole in my shower to fix a breach somewhere because of internal flooding inside the wall, which happened once the hot water service blew up. And it's just, obviously, there's either mechanical damage or there's a pipe damage somewhere leaking water into my cupboards, which the guy came over today and says, oh, we can't fix this. It's all rotten and just rotten chipboard, and it's just, oh my god. It's just a nightmare, one after the other. And then the guys that came out they were supposed to replace the screen door. What they did, they replaced the screen on the screen door. The reason I wanted the screen door replaced was because the screen door doesn't have a door handle. So they replaced the screen on a broken screen door. And you just think, oh my god, really? This is the stuff I've got to deal with, right? It's bad enough having to deal with housing trust maintenance as it is, because I know that the moment I start making phone calls, there's another 6 weeks that I can't work because I'm sitting here waiting for tradespeople. It's ridiculous. And so once again, people complain because I'm not complaining. And I'm just thinking, I just wanted a normal life, you know? But anyway, I digress. It has been about 22 minutes, and I know people don't like the timestamp thing, but I'm going to call it quits here. But before I go, I am going to use the code word for those of you who are listening to the code word, and the code word is exercise. Please write that down. That's EXERCISE, and use it in the various social medias and things that are linked to down below. I want to get this uploaded, and I just needed to take the plunge and get a whole heap of this stuff off my chest so I can basically create a better episode, a better listening experience for you guys. It's been a while since I've done anything like this. I've heard a few podcasters say that you can get rusty, but I don't think that's true. I think you just build up opposition to it in your mind, and once you just hit that record button and let the thing fly, and without guilt, without judgment, you just start talking. And I think that's one of the things I have to work on. This perfectionist streak of the episode has to be perfect, having to stop record, re-record, and I just think, no, I just got to let things go, and I'm going to let you guys go. Anyway, thank you very much for listening for this long. I hope that this helps you relax, go to sleep, whatever it is that you happen to do. Next time I will be talking about financial management and things like that. I'm doing this $5 note challenge, which is where you save every $5 note for a year, and you have to adjust that to your own currency. So it might be a £2 note, or I don't know whether they even exist. So, but for whatever the lowest note currency that you have, it might be a 1, it might be a 2, it might be a 5. In Australia, it's a 5 because we have like the $1 and $2 coins. So yeah, but I did fairly well. I'm up around about $450. Well, that's what it should be. I've started to tap into it again out of necessity and things like that, financial problems and whatnot. But I'm going to be doing that 50 weeks of awesome again, and we'll get some goals and things happening. I do have some work coming up, and like I said before, it's just shoveling horse manure, but hopefully other things will fall into place, and that will possibly turn into more work around the year, because the company that I used to work for last year lost their contract for some reason, and they are with a new company, so I managed to successfully get a job with a new company, and yeah, hopefully things will improve from here on in. So thank you very much once again for listening. Please take today and the rest of the week easy like a Sunday morn. I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.